Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about our photography and how looking back can be helpful to us, can help us improve our photography. But I am not talking about taking photos. I've talked about how to improve ourselves, how as a photographer before. Today I want to talk about how to improve ourselves as an editor for our photos. Because we are both a photographer and an editor. We edit our photos. And I've used Adobe Lightroom since 2008. And in that time, Adobe Lightroom has improved greatly. The amount of features that we have today at our disposal in Adobe Lightroom is unbelievable. But like all humans, we always want more. Oh, we would like this, we would like that. I can tell you that in 2008, when I became a beta tester for Adobe Lightroom, it was version 3 point something. It was like a dog without a leash. It was just a very basic editing program. Over the years, Adobe Lightroom has improved. If I'm looking at myself, over the years, I've improved as a photographer as well. Just like I've improved myself as a photographer, I've also improved myself as an editor. And we go through highs and lows. Sometimes we push our photography too much. Well, sometimes we push our photo editing skills too much. We overdo our photos. And this is what I want to talk about today, because it is good for us to look back. So today I want to show you how I edited photos way back, like 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, even more to now. Because just a few days ago, the photos that I selected today for this tutorial, I went through and re-edited them. Some of them I found I hardly needed to change. Some of them that I chose needed a lot of editing. One, because sometimes the photo wasn't edited properly. Sometimes I overdid my photos. At other times, the photo was just so good to start with that there wasn't much need to re-edit that photo. So I want to show you all those variables today. And maybe it will give you an idea of going back and looking at some photos and saying, well, did I over-edit this photo? Or did I get it right first time off the bat? You may be surprised, just like I was. Let's jump in and I'll show you these photos. So let's start off with wildlife. And there will be 2 photos. The first one will state original. The second one will state edited. So this is the first one here, the original, the edited version. This is the original. Now the edited version. The original. Now the edited version. Look at this Spinifex pigeon. This photo was taken in 2007 with my Nikon D70S, a 6 megapixel camera. I edited this photo in 2008 when Lightroom first came out. Now look at this version from just a few days ago. The only editing I did was use 2 masks, one for the background and one for the bird. The background mask, I blurred out more of the background, and the second mask for the bird, I just want to highlight. So increase the brightness a bit, increase the contrast of the bird, just so there would be a little bit more separation between the bird and the background. And what about the kookaburra here? This is the original version, but look at the kookaburra. It's a bit dark. We can't see too much of the facial features. Now, look at it. It really stands out. Here I have to admit, I think I am right on the edge of over-editing this photo. Do you agree with me? Leave it in the comments. Tell me, do you think that I've pushed this photo too much? Now let's take a look at a couple of landscape images. This is the first one, Angkor Wat in Cambodia. This is the edited version. And this is another one in Cambodia. And this is the edited version. Now look at the Angkor Wat image here. Can you see the big difference? In 2013, this was about an hour after sunrise. Angkor Wat itself was just dull. I was able to go back to that same photo and just draw out the shadows of Angkor Wat and put a gradient filter on the lily pond here just to give it a bit of saturation so that it would highlight Angkor Wat a lot more. And this is a classic example of just some farmland in Cambodia with this huge tree sheltering this farmhouse. This is where I can really see the difference in Adobe Lightroom. This is the original here. This is the edited version. Adobe Lightroom now gives me the ability selecting certain areas. I was able to select the sky and bring out a lot of the detail in the sky by reducing the highlights, by choosing to make the color a little bit more bluish, because this is what I can remember the scene to look like. I was able to select the leaves on the tree and increase the saturation so the tree had some definition. I wasn't able to do that in 2013. Now let's look at a few Stormscape images. This is Mount Tibrogargan on a stormy day. This is the edited version of the photo. This is a shelf cloud coming over Lake Samson Vale. This is the edited version of this photo. And this is where I want to state that sometimes when we're editing photos, that it is good to have somebody that we know or a place like Facebook where we can post our photos and ask for feedback. I'm not talking about just a general photo page. There are groups on Facebook where you can post your image, or if you know a very good photographer that will give you feedback or constructive criticism. I'm not talking about posting on a normal Facebook page and seeing people say, I don't like that photo, or, for me, it's this, for me, it's that. I used to know a very good photographer, and in the early days when I was editing photos, I would send him some of my photos and say, what do you think about this photo? Not the photo has the settings that I use, but how I edited the photos. Many times he would reply and say, you've done great, this is good. Other times he would say, not enough editing, it's flat. But other times he would say, you've done too much. You've added too much contrast. You've added too much saturation. It doesn't look lifelike anymore. Just like this Stormscape image here of this shelf cloud coming across Lake Samson Vale. The clouds are very bluish. And also, I added too much dehaze. I've added too much contrast. When I edited this photo, I thought it was great. Now, 2 days ago, when I looked at it, I looked and go, wow, what was I thinking? Well, my photo editing skills have improved, and it had nothing to do with Lightroom for this photo. It was just the way I was editing Stormscape images at that time. I liked them to be like that. But 6, 7 years on, I've realized that, well, some of these Stormscape images, I just over-edited them. Look at the edited version. It looks more lifelike. It looks real. Storm clouds are a bluey grey. They're not saturated in blue. Sometimes it is good to ask for feedback or to ask for constructive criticism, because this is how we learn. People used to come to my photography workshops, which I taught for over 10 years, because they wanted to learn how to take better photos. And when I used to do the Adobe Lightroom workshops, they used to come because they wanted to be better at editing their photos. And I hope this tutorial shows you that going back and looking at photos 5 or something years ago can help you in your photo editing skills. Because you might see, well, back then, this is how I edited, but I've grown, I've learnt more. Adobe Lightroom has improved so I can get more out of the photo. So a photo that you took, for example, 7 years ago, that you thought wasn't worth editing, but is still on your hard drive, now could have the potential to be a photo that can be outstanding. And the next set of images are sunset images. And this is where many photographers, when it comes to editing, get it wrong. Because we have a tendency to over-edit, to oversaturate sunrise and sunset images. This is the first one, the original. This is the edited version. This is the second one, original. And this is the edited version. Look at the original here. A sunset over Scarborough Harbour. It's oversaturated. I know that. The sky that day was beautiful, but it's oversaturated. The blues in the sky are oversaturated compared to what I just edited a couple of days ago. Now, it is much more realistic. The center where the sun is setting is quite bright, and that's what it should look like. The clouds are not oversaturated. Can you see that? I've gone back in my photos and I've looked at, okay, well, this one, I overdid it. It's not harmful to admit that sometimes that we overdo things. That's how we learn. And what about the temple photo? This is what Arun that I took in 2008. It's a very nice image, but back then I couldn't do much with the photo. Look at the temple itself and the foreground here. It is very dark, and I added too much contrast compared to the edited version here. I've slightly increased the shadows and I've slightly softened the sky, but I haven't overdone it. And this is where you really have to be careful sometimes when you're editing images like this. If the sun is setting behind your subject is going to be dark. Here, all I've done is just lifted up the shadows slightly so that we can see what Arun, we can see a little bit of the flags, we can see more of the river. That's all I've done, and that's all this photo needed. The last set here is 2 Milky Way images, and here it is very difficult because we have to add quite a bit of editing to our Milky Way images because the sky is so dark at night time that even with our modern cameras, we need to do quite a bit of editing to bring out the Milky Way. But also we have to be careful not to overdo the Milky Way itself, because I'm sure if you look on Facebook and if you're into Nightscape Photography, you will see some photos of the Milky Way that just don't look realistic. These 2 photos, I'm trying to get a natural feel. So this is the first one, the original. This is the edited version. And take a close look between the original and the edited version. What's changed? The sky in the original is brighter, but I've also overdone the Milky Way. I've added too much contrast. I use a program called Nick Viveza. This program, I can just select the Milky Way from the background and just increase the structure, increase the contrast, choose certain colors, which colors to saturate, which colors to desaturate. Back then, I was just overdoing the Milky Way compared to this version here where it looks more realistic. And this is what I was after. I've learnt over the years that my editing of the Milky Way was slightly too much. Now I've backed off. And this is the last photo here. You can see here the original on the left, the version I've just edited a few days ago on the right. Look at the Milky Way. There's not much difference. I've gotten the editing of the Milky Way fairly well, but look at the foreground here. The original one, the ocean, is too green and it is too saturated and there's too much contrast in it. It's not like this in the real. The edited one here, I've reduced the saturation. I've smoothed it out to make it more lifelike because it's a long exposure. It was a 25-second exposure, so it shouldn't have contrast. It should be just smooth. Looking at this image side by side, you can really see the difference between what I edited way back then to what I was able to achieve today. 1, of course, because of Adobe Lightroom, but 2, also because as a photographer, I have grown and I've learned how to better edit my photos. I hope this tutorial has given you an idea of how to become a better photo editor, how to improve your editing skills, because this is why it is good sometimes to look back. I hope this helps you improves your photo editing skills. And if this tutorial has been of help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you have any feedback, leave it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.